Hey, so far in this mini-series of sexual consciousness and sexual evolution, we have shared a conversation about why sex matters to us beyond the physical drive to reproduce. We have explored how sex keeps us small. I have shared with you why sex matters to me. And we have also had a conversation about sexual freedom. So let's talk about great sex. What is great sex? I feel this changes as our attitude and our wants and where our need and desire is coming from. When I think about when I was younger, great sex was about being wild and passionate. It was also about being tender and sweet. It was about how many sexual positions could be squeezed into a length of time. It was about how many orgasms I had. It was about how long that sex lasted with another person. And it was also about how that person treated me and attended to me. So great sex we tend to measure on a physical level, on exactly as I said, the length of time, sexual positions, how many orgasms, and the relief. We can measure it on the feeling we have afterwards of whether our body is feeling that relief and that release that sex can bring, and whether there is some sort of fulfillment. We are encouraged in magazines and media for great sex to be about orgasms and being able to have sex for a certain length of time and a certain number of times a week. We are really encouraged for sex to be about the act. But at some point, that becomes unfulfilling. That becomes what I describe as McDonald's, because it is simply an act, a performance, and we start to feel that something is missing, and we're not necessarily sure what that missing is. That missing is a presence, a being behind the act of sex. That missing is when we are noticing that our sexual preferences and our sexual behaviours are not coming from a healthy place, that sex is not respectful, it's not honouring, it's not devotional, it's not kind to ourselves, or it may not be kind to another person. It's when we start to notice what is the drive behind our sex. Is it simply for release? Is it a need for attention, love, worthiness? Is it an habitual pattern where sex is actually the way in which we self-sabotage? Is it from obligation? We start to feel that there is more, and this is when we can come into the space of experiencing ourselves as a sexual being, so that when we show up to share the act of sex with another, we're coming from a healthy and true place rather than an empty place. We're coming from a place of we're already full in our internal self of our sexual consciousness. So there isn't a hunger for something external to us. There is actually a fullness from the inside that wants to share that fullness with another. And that's where the richness and the quality comes in. And yes, there is still action, and there is still wild and passionate and tender and sweet, but instead of emptiness behind that, there is fullness behind that. There is you as a being in that action, in that sharing of sex, because you've truly come into your own sexual healing and your own sexual consciousness, and you've elevated and gone beyond the ways in which you have been educated or misinformed by your past experiences, and you've actually been honest with yourself about what sex means. Is the sex because there's a desire for connection and depth and quality and I don't know what the word is. It's just it's a dissolving of no time and space, where there's simply two people, two human beings in union. And when we can be honest and inquire and keep going deeper and deeper into ourselves about what is in the way of that, and keep moving beyond that, that is when we come into great sex. That is when we come into stake. And it's not about how many orgasms, and it's not about positions, and it's not about release or relief, and it's not about performance, and it's not about how long it lasts. It's about all the qualities in that, and how we feel connected to ourselves, and therefore how we feel we can be vulnerable and surrender and intimate with the person we are with, but also that moment, and then the next moment, and then the next moment. We start to experience our exchanges of the act of sex as an unfolding, a journey. We don't have a beginning and we don't have an end. The moment is always unfolding into another as a curiosity and an exploration of another. We also, in great sex, feel our whole being is with that other, that we are not arriving into that space in separate pieces, that we are arriving as a whole being in heart and head and sex. And yeah, we're just fully there. And that is the stake. That is the fulfillment, the satisfaction in the action.